Okay, great. And there should be a thing popping up on your screen asking you to give permission. So, welcome. I'm going to go ahead and start our slides. Um, Lori and I are sharing hosting, so we're trying to work out the technical glitches. Okay. So we've got some people in Massachusetts. We've got somebody from Tennessee. Wonderful. Welcome. So I'm Sharon Wachsler. I'm the owner and head trainer of At Your Service Dog Training. We provide expert service dog training for life-changing results. And with us also is Lori DiDonato. She is my office manager. She's going to be monitoring the chat and also monitoring the closed captions. So the closed captions usually work pretty well, but if there's something in the closed captions that doesn't make sense, Lori might just type a little correction to the chat in case people are relying on those. What we're going to do tonight is I'm going to tell you a little bit about who we are and what we do. And then you're going to get your chance to ask your questions. And we'll do that for most of the rest of the time. And then at the end, I'm going to talk about what your next steps are, how you can move forward with training, and give you some resources. We have a lot to cover, so I'm going to just keep going. So we do ask people to keep your microphone off when you're not asking a question, just to preserve the quality of the audio for everybody. It's really great for me if you're comfortable to have your camera on, as many of you have, because I've done this before where I just see like black squares and then I just feel like I'm talking into the void. So as long as I see a couple of faces, it's really nice for me. So if that's good for you, that's great for me. If you have questions, feel free to just go ahead and type them in the chat. Since we do have 13 people registered, which is quite a lot, I'm going to start by asking for people just to do one question to start. And then if we have more time, you can type in additional questions, just so there's enough time for everybody to get their question answered. Just a heads up that if you have a detailed training question, how to train your dog to do something or not to do something, I may not be able to really go into that because we just don't have time to address that kind of question here. But we also are going to provide follow-up resources for further questions and information afterwards. So as I said, I'm Sharon. I trained my first service dog for myself in 1998. At the time that I did that, it was really unusual to do service dog owner training. And then I spent the next 16 years training service dogs for myself, first one and then the next and then the next. I was severely physically disabled for 18 years, and that's how I got involved in this work. At the time, I couldn't find an organization that could train a service dog for me. I was also working in the disability field in disability information and referral. After I recovered my health in 2013, I started apprenticing with other dog trainers and learning about pet dog training. And then I actually started my business At Your Service Dog Training and have been working with people to train their own service dogs since then in 2014. That's a picture of me on the top there with my second service dog Gadget, bringing a grocery bag into the house. Our other trainer, a senior trainer, is Alex Wise. Alex also has trained their own service dog. Their first service dog was Hitch, that white dog there. Hitch had to be career changed because he wasn't appropriate as a service dog candidate. And now Alex is training their next service dog, Clippy. Alex has been a professional trainer also since 2015 and is, like me, a certified professional dog trainer, knowledge assessed by the Certification Council of Professional Dog Trainers. And I'm also a Karen Pryor Academy certified training partner. So that's who we are. We work with disabled people or their families to train a service dog, um, whether it's a psychiatric disability, a physical disability, hard of hearing or chronic illness or PTSD. We work with a number of different types of disabilities. We can help you find the dog to train, to find the right dog for you to train. And we can also work with a dog that you already have if you have a dog you want to train already. We're located in Hadley, Massachusetts, but most of the training we do actually is online by Zoom. We have group classes we're going to tell you more about called DISC, Dogs in Service Certification course, and we also do private lessons, day training and board and train. So we do private lessons online, and then we also do them on site here in Hadley as well. So we do both. A lot of our clients are not local, but they're regional. So we often work with people to train online, and then periodically we train in person as well. If you're far from us, what we usually do is train with you on Zoom. And then if you do need any in-person training, we help connect you to a great pet dog trainer in your area who can help you with those things. And then we work as a team with you. We also do a little bit of therapy dog training or ESA training, or if you have a disability and you need pet dog training support that's adaptive, we do that as well. And we also consult on service dog training with professional dog trainers. I mentor professional trainers or people who are aspiring trainers on service dog training as well. So that's what we do. We work with all types of service dogs, like I said, mobility, psychiatric, hearing, and we are just launching a new program that I'm really excited about for scent alert training. So scent detection training for allergen detection or alert for scent. So that's something we can talk about a little bit more going down the line. So if you have a question about anything to do with service dogs, go ahead and type it in the chat if you haven't already. Anything to do with service dog training, and I will certainly do my best to answer it. And I think we've got some already. And I do just want to encourage you to, if you can, type your question into everybody. Looks like some people are typing it into me specifically, and that will mean that Lori won't be able to see them. But I do see I see some from Maria, so I'm gonna just bookmark that for myself so I don't lose track of them. All right, so let me start answering your questions. And I'm going to stop the share now so we can all see each other as I answer the questions. Maybe I will, and when you, if you're comfortable, if I have follow-up questions, you can unmute or you can just, type your answers in the chat, whatever works for you. And since we do have several people, I'm going to try to keep it moving. Lori, is it possible for you to spotlight me? Click on my picture and choose spotlight, and that will make my square a little bigger. I think it might just make it easier for people. Okay, great. So, all right. So welcome. I see Colleen is looking to train a Labrador pup, and Johnny considering training a service dog. Oh, okay, great. You have previous experience with dogs and not canines in the Army. Noreen in Worthington. Oh, getting a puppy this Wednesday. That's so exciting. Okay. So let's see. I'm just looking for. Okay, great. Stephanie, it's great that you're looking into it now before you. Oh, and you're a professional dog trainer. Wonderful. Before you get your dog. Okay, and great, Susan. All right, so let's see. We have some questions here. I'm going to start on them from Maria. How early should you start service dog training? So you want to start getting your puppy off to a good start from the moment you get your puppy, or even before you get your puppy, if possible. So the priorities for a puppy are things like making sure that your puppy is really confident and happy and relaxed around new people, places, and things. So we call that socialization. And I just want to make it clear that socialization is the process for a puppy, especially in the first 16 weeks. So the first 2 months you have your puppy home, if your puppy comes home at 8 weeks. Um, and it's not so much about getting your puppy to play with other dogs as it is about making sure that your puppy makes positive associations with um, different textures on the ground, different things it hears out in the world, being around people and strangers, um, being around other dogs, all of those things. That's a really important foundation for service dog training, because if you want your dog to work in public, you really want to make sure that your dog is very comfortable around everything. So that's a big one for starting out with a puppy. Um, and then some of the other things that are important for puppies are also like house training, and handling, making sure that your puppy is really comfortable being touched all over, having a vest put on or a harness put on. So a lot of basics for puppies have to do with sort of building your puppy's confidence and resilience. And to do that, we recommend two things. We recommend working with a rewards-based trainer in your area, a puppy kindergarten class. Um, we can often recommend someone in your area if you don't know who's a good trainer in your area. And then also our Pearl Disc class, which I'll talk about a little bit later. That's our level 1 class. Doing the two at once, if it's possible, is great. But if not, you can do like a puppy kindergarten first and then do Pearl. Um, that gives your puppy foundations, and gives you foundations in helping your puppy to become um, the sort of the best version of itself. It can be very resilient and confident and things like that. We also teach some service dog specific puppy related skills. Like it's very convenient to start, if you have a puppy, teaching them how to sort of curl up between your feet. So if you're on public transportation or in a waiting room, that your puppy can sort of learn to how to be out of the way. And it's just easier to do that when they're a puppy because they're small and their bodies are a little bit more bendy. so so things like that we do in Pearl as well. Um, and and then you can also, depending on the situation, you can do some foundation stuff. So if you know that you want to train your puppy eventually to alert you to sounds, if you're hard of hearing, for example, and you want your puppy later to alert you to the microwave or the kitchen timer or whatever, you can start some of that foundation training in puppyhood as well, or some other task training if you want your puppy to have a certain positive emotional association to when you are distressed. Like if you have a psychiatric disability, you might want to start some of that in puppyhood as well. Um, so, so speaking of puppies, can you guys hear my dog in the background or is it just me? Oh, okay. I'm going to change my audio settings. I think that my dog is playing with one of my other dogs. Um, that should help. Okay. Hopefully that's a little quieter now. So, um, so none of this is sort of specific to training, necessarily to training tasks. The way that service dog training in general takes shape is we do a lot of foundation training with puppies, building that confidence, doing a lot of basic manners training. And then once the puppy has matured and has really good skills, then we start doing more public access training. And then often we do task training after all of that, but it is also possible and sometimes preferable to do some task training along the way. It depends a lot on what the disability is. If there's anything like mobility, um, anything that's sort of physically demanding, we always wait until the dog is mature and their growth plates are closed. But for things like conditioning to sounds and smells, making associations with important sounds and smells later, we can do that in puppyhood. Sorry, I know that was a really long answer. Let me go back because I think there was more questions. Can a Bichon Poodle become a service dog, or is a different breed better? Theoretically, any breed can be a service dog. In general, what we're looking for in a service dog candidate are the things that we list on our free video on our homepage on our website. So if you haven't watched that, I strongly encourage you to watch that. Lori, maybe if you want to just pop that link into the chat. Um, we go through a list of the characteristics that a service dog candidate should have. Um, so um, usually the breed that I recommend the most often, all other things being equal, is a Labrador Retriever, but that doesn't mean that only Labs can be service dogs. I have worked with poodles and Bichon mixes and pit bulls and golden retrievers and black Russian terriers and many, many, many breeds of dogs that became service dogs. So it just mostly has to do with a particular dog's temperament and personality, more than it necessarily has to do with the breed. But there's a lot of things that go into what makes a dog more likely to be a candidate. And generally speaking, those characteristics are most often found in labs if you have the right lab. Let's see. Susan says we have a voltage aptitude score, maybe full hard, I'm guessing, and a trainer who came out and recommended we should look at service dog training. But how do we know if our puppy is really suitable for service work? We do not want to invest so much time and money if the puppy is not suitable. So that's a great question. Again, I would encourage you to really to watch the video that we have on our homepage of our website that goes through the characteristics. And we do have a scoring system, and you can see, if your dog seems to be getting a good score. That's one way to tell. We often encourage people to start in our Pearl Disc class because you'll get a lot of useful training information for your dog if your dog is going to become a service dog. But even if they're not, it's skills that your dog can use for life as a pet dog or as an ESA. And we have an assessment at the end of that Pearl Disc class. And then if you move on to bronze, then there's another assessment that's more detailed after that. And that's one way, because the classes are, I'm not going to get the class cost right exactly. I don't know, Lori, if you want to jump in. I think I want to say it's like is it $385, including the assessment for Pearl Disc? It's for 10 weeks. So it's a pretty low investment for the amount of training that you get.
It's 390.
$390. Thank you. So that's one thing, watch the free video if you want to sort of see how it goes. But a lot of it just has to do with you start working with your dog, especially if it's a puppy. Sometimes it's hard to tell with a puppy. And then you see, how is your puppy doing with the training? How are you doing? Are you enjoying the training? Is it something that you and your dog are loving doing together? Are you and your dog flourishing in the training? Is your dog making good progress? Are there red flags? So for us, when we're working with a dog and we're starting to see things that we think might mean that this dog is not going to be happy and successful, most likely as a service dog, we tell the client, we say, like, I'm seeing this and this is a concern and this is what we can do about it, and and see where it goes, or seeing this and this and that together, I'm sorry, but I just don't think that this is going to be the right career for your dog, and here are some other options. So it's just really hard. There's no guarantee, but what we can do is we can look at the score that your dog has, and also, when we get to know your dog and you a little bit through working with you, we can let you know what we're seeing, and we're very honest with people about that. Stephanie says, do you always recommend someone pursuing owner training to get a puppy versus an adolescent or young adult dog, and always from a breeder? Hold on one second. I'm just going to go grab my other dog because the person who's here is not, I think she's busy. So I'm going to Okay, thank you. So the other person in the household is not a dog trainer. So, okay. So, I don't always recommend a puppy. Here's the tricky part. If I could wave my magic wand and pick a dog for you, I would pick a 2-year-old dog who had all the qualities that we're looking for in a candidate. Because once a dog is 2 years old, we have a pretty good sense of that dog's temperament and personality and their health. And when you get a puppy, you have an idea, but sometimes there's a surprise when the puppy reaches social maturity with their behavior or with their health. So all things being equal, the ideal is to find the ideal young adult candidate and train that dog. The tricky part is it's a lot easier to find great puppies from reputable breeders than it is to find great adult dogs because it just tends to be a needle in a haystack. But there are things that you can do sometimes depending on networking, how long and how much time you're willing to take, and also sort of what's happening with the world of dogs. Like at a certain point during the pandemic, it was virtually impossible to find a great adult candidate dog because there was just a massive shortage of dogs. Now there's a lot of dogs in rescue, and it would be easier potentially to find the right dog. It's just a complicated sort of set of variables. So what I would strongly recommend for somebody who's considering getting a dog to train is to get our webinar on finding the right dog to train. It's 3 hours of information broken into it's 1.5 hours each, and there's a lot of written resources too. And it goes through sort of all of the variables, what to look for, how to look for it, whether it's the right option for you and your family, a puppy versus an adult, owner training versus program. It really sort of gives you a lot to think about and a lot of decisions to make, and it can help you sort of get onto the right path. And then from there, if you do decide you do want to get a dog to train, then I'm happy to work with you and help you in the pre-adoption search process and dog search support. Or you might decide, oh, actually, learning all that I've learned, I would rather get a pet dog or I'd rather get a trained dog from a program. But that's the best place to start. And usually I do recommend getting a dog from a breeder versus rescue because so often dogs in rescue have, have already dealt with a lot of disruption in their life and difficulty. But it's kind of too big of a question to answer. But generally speaking, most of the time I end up working with people to get a puppy from a breeder. We just put a lot of work into trying to find the right puppy. But sometimes we luck out and we find a great adult dog, often from a breeder. And that is the best option if you can find it. Colleen says, can you give some examples of training via Zoom for mobility service dog training? Will I be sharing videos of training? I'm sure you're going to discuss what the disc breakdown looks like in more detail. Thanks. Wonderful. Yeah, I love talking about mobility service dog training because I was in a wheelchair for many years. So it's kind of a passion of mine. So a lot of the training that we do to get started is a lot of the basic manners stuff. It is things like, down and stay and sit and things like that. If you are in a wheelchair or using mobility equipment, then I would show you how to do those things in ways that work for you and your body. Like, for example, if you're using a wheelchair and we're training your dog to sort of get out of the way when a person approaches, then often we'll have you train your dog to go under your chair or things like that. In terms of task training, actually task training is one of the best things to do by Zoom because so often we're training these foundation behaviors where the dog really needs to be able to concentrate and the person really needs to be able to concentrate, and it's just easiest to do that at home. So things like a retrieve or turning a light switch on and off, or shutting and opening a door, can all be done online by Zoom. If there was something that we needed to see video on, which often it's super helpful if clients send us video. For example, we get video of people in Bronze, which is the one that comes after Pearl group class. We ask people to take videos of their dog out walking when they see something weird or new or different. We get videos of people having their dog settle out in public, like under a table in a restaurant. But it's also really common for me to ask people if they are training a retrieve, to just take some video. In the beginning, the retrieve often looks extremely boring. They're just holding like a dumbbell or a pencil or something, and they hold it out and their dog goes bloop, and then they mark and give a treat. So click or say yes and give a treat. So the dog is learning to like hold it quietly in their mouth, because often when a dog is doing a fetch, they throw it up in the air, they hit it with their paw, they go, right, and chew it around in their mouth. We do a trained service dog retrieve. It looks very different. We just want the dog to quietly, calmly hold the thing behind their canines, and then to release it when they're asked. So it's a lot of sort of slow building of foundation skills, and to do that, to do it at home where things are quiet and people can concentrate really well, is the best thing. Let's see. What is the process to become a service animal for spotting seizures? So we are just starting with a trainer named Lauren, who has a specialty in scent detection. So she is going to, we are going to open this to start with current clients or previous clients who want to train their dog in the scent detection piece. And that's something that you can do at any age. So you can do it when your dog is a puppy, or you can do it when your dog is 8 years old. So your dog can already have great foundation training and manners in public access, or it can be like one of the first things that you do. And that process involves you getting saliva samples or sweat samples during seizures, and then training the dog through a very slow, careful, step-by-step process to recognize that smell. And then separate from that, you train the dog an alert behavior, such as hitting you with their paw or nudging you with their nose. And then you train the dog when they smell the smell to nudge you. So, and the same process would work for blood glucose, diabetes detection, or if you have POTS, postural orthopedic tachycardia syndrome, or if you have PTSD and panic attacks, that we teach the dog to respond to the scent. So that's the task training process. The whole process of training the service dog is also all of these pieces of building a really resilient, comfortable, happy, confident dog who's super comfortable going anywhere and everywhere, who has excellent manners, who can lay quietly while we are being boring, because so much of a service dog's job is to just lie around and tolerate boredom while we are in a waiting room, or we're in a class, or we're teaching. I just want to make a specific note about seizure response dogs or seizure detection dogs. They have to be the most confident service dogs, because they have to be able to respond and do their tasks and their cues when their handler is completely incapacitated and can't give them any cues. So for that, you're looking for a super confident dog who's also very sort of tuned into their handler. So that can be a tricky combination. Maria says she's still learning basic skills now. Will she be young enough to be a service animal dog in the future? You want to start with basic skills. Um, and you can start training a service animal that has the right temperament and foundations in as a young adult too. I would just say let's just get started training. You could start her in Pearl, and then you just have to see how it goes and how fast the training goes. Colleen says, if I am unable to attend a week of the Pearl Disc class because I will be on vacation, is there an option to review the material and double up the following week? So all of the classes that we do or private lessons we do online are recorded. So there's live coaching. So you would still get all of the instruction and you would be able to see the trainer working with the other teams in class. And then you also get written homework material along with that. So you would be able to follow along. We don't have people do a makeup class because they're open enrollment classes. So there's it's 10 sessions that sort of go through continuously. So the next week would be a different set of material. But we have usually heard from people that they're able to keep up well if they miss a class because of the recording. Can you have another dog in the same household as a service dog? Yes, you definitely can. We often recommend for people who have a dog already in the household that if that dog has any behavior issues, fearfulness, reactivity, things like that, we recommend working with us or another trainer that we would refer you to first before you bring in another dog. Because emotions are pretty sort of contagious between dogs. Dogs learn a lot through social learning from other dogs. We want to make sure that your service dog candidate is getting off to the best possible start. Let's see. Okay. What is the daily training time commitment and how many months or years to pass? CGC, which is Canine Good Citizen, PAT, which usually means public access test, and specific service tasks. You guys are asking great questions. So the daily training time commitment is kind of a tricky one to answer. We do also we cover this in the free video on the website as well. There's sort of a short answer and a long answer to that. The actual time that you spend training can often be short if you're thinking about training your dog to sit or down or come or touch a target. You can do a few minutes here and a few minutes there throughout the course of the day. What really takes a ton of mental time, sort of takes up a lot of space in your brain, is all the stuff that you have to do to sort of prevent your dog from having bad experiences or from learning bad manners. And that is sort of something that happens all day, every day. And that is often the part that people find the most, the most sort of the work and the biggest surprise is just how much you sort of have to do to constantly be preventing your dog from learning things you don't want them to learn and to sort of all day long be supporting good manners and bringing your dog with you into places where your dog is going to learn things in a good way in public. So it's really hard to answer that. But I mean, you know, and then you're also doing extra stuff with your dog that you might not do with a pet dog, like you're making sure to take this dog on walks every day, so it's learning good manners on its walk as opposed to just, letting it out in the yard and things like that. So we definitely do encourage you to have to take this path if you do have a lot of free time. It's usually much easier. I'm trying to think of what I might say would be the daily time commitment. I would say 2 to 3 hours in general, of a lot of attention to your dog, which may not necessarily all be training time. Some of that might be walking time. Some of that might be playing time. Some of that might be like grooming and handling time, all of which is sort of generally going to support your dog's preparation for being a service animal. Theoretically, it can take a year If your dog is already an adult, like if your dog is already 1 year, it could theoretically take a year to do all that. But in actual reality, for the most part, it usually, for most people who aren't professional dog trainers, it's usually going to take 2 to 3 years. Um, just because unless you're a professional trainer, you're also learning this like entire field, this entire sort of profession as you go, and it's a lot to do both. So it generally, and it also depends on how many tasks you're training and what the tasks are. Like training some psychiatric service tasks can be done really quickly, and training something like a shaped service dog retrieve, like training a dog as a mobility service dog to pick up anything and everything and bring it to you and not shred it or crunch it, usually takes a lot more training, for example, than training a dog to sort of lie across your legs when you're anxious. So it really depends. For the scent alert training, like allergen detection training or some of the medical alert training, that usually takes 1 to 2 years, just that training. But again, you're only training a few minutes a day on that. So a lot of this training, you're only doing sort of service dog training, maybe for a half an hour a day or an hour a day or even less. But there's all of these other pieces that go into it that can be sort of, you have to sort of build your life around it. All right. Noreen says, do you recommend the DISC program levels be completed close together? Oh, that's a good question. So you can take the first level Pearl Disc anytime if you have a puppy or an adult. We do encourage people to, if you do have a puppy, to take Pearl pretty early in puppyhood, because we cover a lot of stuff that can be really useful to cover when your dog is still a little puppy. But you can still get a lot out of it when your dog is an adult. Once you have all of those skills from Pearl, some teams will then just take their Pearl assessment and go directly to bronze. And some people will take weeks or months of training because they want to work on all the stuff that they learned before they move to bronze. And I think either is fine. It really depends um, on you and your dog, and what makes sense for you and your dog. So if you were training with us, we might, and you wanted to know, like, should we just keep going right now or should we work on stuff for a while? I would be able to tell you better knowing more specifics about you and your dog. Um, yeah, in most cases, for most reasons, there you don't need to hurry. We have two mottos that we say a lot. I'm wearing one of them today, which is, I don't know if you can see it. It says, train the dog that shows up. That means like train the dog in front of you, not your last dog, not your neighbor's dog, not the dog that your dog was a month ago when he was a puppy and now he's an adolescent. So train the dog in front of you is one, and the other one is slow is fast. Or we also have t-shirts that say slow is fast. And service dog training is all about sort of building really strong foundations, going really slow to get it done right. Because it's so easy to sort of try to push and hurry ahead because it's so important and we want to get to the stuff that's more interesting, like tasks, and can feel more rewarding. But the slower that you go, usually the better the training is. So it's often a great thing to do, to take your time and really make sure that your dog is doing things right. Stephanie says, is all of your service dog training via group class? Do you offer individualized one-to-one classes? Yes, we do a lot of private training, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. And maybe I'll just do that now, and then if there's more questions. We do both private and group classes online, and we also do private training in person. I'm trying to share the screen here. Gromit Kennel. Thank you. Right. Okay, here we go. So I'll just go through this, and then if there's more questions, I can answer them as well. So if you're considering training a service dog, like I've said, really in many ways, it's the hardest part of the process is finding the right dog. Um, so we do have the free informational video on the website. That's the first place to start. After that is the webinar that I mentioned, which if Lori hasn't popped that in the chat yet, if you can do the link for that. We have a page on pre-adoption, finding the right dog on our website as well. So that provides a lot of material, sort of a density of material that you can use to make decisions about going forward. And then from there, I would meet with you individually, consult with you, learn about you and your disabilities and your needs, and make recommendations about what to look for, in a breed or an age or any number of different things, and then help you also in the search process. The DISC program, which we mentioned, is the Dogs and Service Certification course. This is a course that's for service dog owner trainers. It's a levels program, like I mentioned. So the first one is Pearl, that's 10 weeks, then an assessment. When your dog and you pass the assessment, then you move on to Bronze. That's 10 weeks. Then there's a more in-depth assessment that's actually done by another trainer, not us. We'll refer you to a trainer in your area to do that. And then from there, Silver. So those are all group, and I'm going to talk about individual in a second. That's from puppy through public access and task foundations. We also do individual coaching in class. So it's a limit of 4 teams. So it is a group class, but everybody in the class also gets some individual coaching in the class. It's a live class. It's not a pre-recorded course. And every lesson plan has a sort of real life theme to it. So training your puppy on skills that are useful to go to the vet, or when you're going out to eat at a restaurant, or, taking public transportation, or if you end up in the hospital. And Pearl stands for Pup Engaged, Attentive, Relaxed, and Learning. But we also do private lessons. Whether you're taking a class or a lesson with us, you're part of a community, you're training with other service dog and training teams. We have a private Facebook group that's just for our clients and alumni. You have lifelong access to our client portal, which a lot of people tell us is one of the things that they love the most about training with us, we have hundreds of training tip sheets, homework sheets, and videos in there that you can access forevermore. And that you get a video recording of every lesson or class that you do with us that you can save and watch again. The Pearl Disc classes right now, the current 2 that we've been running Fridays at noon Eastern or 9 a.m. Pacific is full until May 10th. And the one Tuesdays at 5:30 Eastern or 2:30 Pacific is full until April 30. But we're adding a 3rd class now, which is going to be Wednesdays at 7:30 Eastern or 4:30 Pacific, and that's going to start March 27th. So, and Lori will post the link she posted it already if you want to do that. But we also do private training. So if you're in our area or you want to travel to our area and train with us in person, you can do that. But we also do a lot of private training online. Most of the private training that I do online is for more advanced teams. So when we're training on public access, or you've gone through the classes and you still want to tweak some things on advanced manners, we do that. And then especially I do a lot of private training on tasks training because it's just so individual. Task training. Everybody's disabilities are different, and the way that the disability affects you is different. So I just find that task training, when done online, is usually a great option. And we can really tailor it to you and your specific needs. So right now I'm working with one client. We're training her dog to wake her up to her alarm clock because she sleeps through multiple alarms. Working with another client to train the dog to alert her to their alarm, their security alarm. Working with sometimes I'm working with dogs on I'm working with another dog on a retrieve of dropped items. We do some psychiatric service task foundation work in DISC and some hearing task work foundations in DISC, but a lot of that we do in private training. And if you want to do the medical detection or allergen alert training, that would be with Lauren, who specializes in that, and that would also be private. Sometimes people just really want to work with me privately as well, and we do that on a case-by-case basis, especially if you've already been working with a professional trainer or you are a professional trainer and you're looking for more advanced training. If you want more information, I've mentioned the free informational video on our website. It's 40 minutes, so it's not quick. You need to budget a little time to sit down and watch it. We have a lot of FAQs, frequently asked questions, on our website, so I encourage you to read those as well. We have a Facebook page where we post events and information, which you can find us there. And we also have a newsletter. So if you aren't subscribed to our newsletter, we let you know when we have blog posts and resources and events and things in that. So I'm going to stop this share and see if there are additional questions of things I haven't gotten to. Lori, are there any questions that I missed that you saw?
I don't think I've seen any that you missed.
Okay. Does anybody have a question that I haven't answered? Feel free to just type in the chat or unmute yourself and speak up. There have been a lot of great questions already. Do you have access to old videos? So if so when I do like a class or a lesson, I will send you a link to the recording. And if you want to keep it, you download it and then you have access to it forevermore because you've saved it on your computer. We don't keep all of the videos forever because we just don't have space for them, but you can keep all of the videos from all of your lessons and classes and watch them again. And I know a lot of people love to watch them again because there's so much happening. So you will have access to all those. And then, any of our training tip videos are always there too. So you always have access to the whole client portal. Other questions? Okay, Stephanie says, after someone has completed the DISC program and the team has passed a public access test and completed their task, do you provide any ongoing support for teams as the years go on? That's such a great question. Yes. So I love, so we do encourage people, once they have completed, their dog has completed training, we give you an embroidered patch for your dog's vest. I'm going to see if I have one here I can grab and show you. So you get pins. When your dog passes pearl disc, you get a pin. And when they pass bronze disc, you get a pin that you can put on their vest. And we also write you a letter of attestation that you can keep with you and some cards so that you can use those if you need to moving forward. And then at 9 to 12 months after a dog has completed all their training, I reach out to the client and I say, how are things going? Because often what starts to happen is over several months after training is completed, little things start to pop up, and they're little. So we just, as handlers, tend to think, oh, this isn't a big deal. And then over time, it sort of starts to accumulate. So I really like to check in with people about, a year or so, or a little less than a year after their dog has finished training, and just say, like, how are things going? And often we'll do a tune-up, maybe just one lesson at that point, or maybe just, a very short series of lessons. And then I do try to have people check in about once a year just to make sure that everything is going well. Because sometimes everything is going well and that's great. And I love to hear that. But sometimes something has arisen and we need to troubleshoot it. And it's always better to sort of get in front of it and not wait until years have gone past and it's become like a entrenched habit. on the dog's part. So yeah, absolutely. I do follow up, and I love it when people are proactive with the follow up, but I understand that that sometimes is hard when life is happening. If on the wait list for class, do you have access to video lessons on the portal while waiting? Oh, that's an interesting question. Um, hmm. I think once you're registered for the class, you have access to everything. So if you're on a wait list and you haven't, you haven't done a consultation yet, or you haven't um, started the group class yet, um, like you haven't, once you pay for the class and you're registered in the class, you have access to everything. So right now we're doing a wait list for people who haven't yet registered, because we were trying to decide which day or night we were going to offer the class. But once you're registered, like if you register now for a class that's happening in April or May, then you get the password to the client portal, and you have access to all of the training tip sheets and the homework and the video that's in the client portal, hundreds of pieces of information, and you can start watching that and reading that and doing that immediately. So once you're registered, you can, and then you have that forever. Colleen says, once signed up for Pearl, is there an opportunity to connect one-to-one to ensure my training journey is headed in the best direction, and also align with someone local if needed? Yeah, that's a great question. So if you are doing Pearl and you feel like you really want some more individual attention, then you would contact us and say, can I do a consultation with Sharon or Alex? And we would usually probably say yes, and meet with you. And we have a very extensive questionnaire for private consultations, so we can sort of make sure that everything, we're keeping our eyes on all the pieces. And yes, we frequently refer clients to trainers in their area if you're not in our area, and we want to make sure that there's something going on. Like I was working with a client whose dog was just very excited about other dogs, and she got a lot out of Pearl and Bronze. And I think we just did one private lesson to just sort of discuss the whole situation. And I ended up feeling like she would be best served by working. It was difficult for her to get out and to take video, and transportation was an issue. And I felt like the best thing for her, and she's in New Jersey, would be to work with a trainer in her area who could get her and her dog around some other dogs and sort of troubleshoot that in person. So I connected her with a trainer in her area who already knew about me, and it's been super helpful, and she's been really happy with that, and she's planning on coming back to us once that she feels like her dog is doing better in that situation. So yeah, we're always happy to do team training. We want to do what's the best for you and your dog, and whatever that's going to look like, and it's very individualized. So even in our classes, which are groups, we're still always trying to tailor everything to the individual handler and dog. Yes. Stephanie says, do you provide any support to clients on understanding the laws around service dogs and what it is like to be a service dog handler and team? Yes. Yes. So we cover that in the classes, and then also in privates as well, if you're doing private training. We specifically try to cover that a lot in the classes, because it is such an area that can be complicated and that people can be unprepared for. We want to sort of start helping you be aware of what it's going to look like in the future. So we talk about the laws. We have a lot of handouts on the laws, and we go over like what questions can a store manager or other business ask you legally, and which things can't they ask you, and what does what should your answer sound like. And then we also provide cards that have the basic answers to the most common questions that you'll get. What's your dog's name? What kind of dog is that? Will it be hard for you to give up your dog when it's finished training? Because sometimes people think you're training your dog for a program. And some of the questions that you can be asked legally by a business is that a service dog in training, and what tasks or work is the dog trained to perform? So we put that on the card too, that what the answers would be for you and your dog. So if you don't want to have to stand there and answer the question, you can hand somebody the card. On the other side of the card, we have the federal laws and the ADA hotline website and phone number. And then we also have the state laws for service dogs in training. So we provide that. And then we also do a lot on sort of what it is like to be working out and about with a service dog in training, and, which dogs are going to flourish and do well in that situation, and which dogs might not be the best fit, and maybe being an in-home only service dog or an emotional support animal might be a better option. So we sprinkle that in throughout the classes, because we want to sort of help everybody to be thinking clearly and well about that from the beginning. And then certainly if you're working with me privately, we're going to talk about that. Okay. Yeah. Somebody asked about the 7:30 Pearl class, right? Because we just added that one. I guess it's not on the website yet. So Lori is going to put that up tomorrow. So you can register for that tomorrow. If you want to get in the Friday afternoon class, I believe, Lori, if you want to answer this, people should pay a deposit to get on the wait list, or should they just register for when the next opening is?
Yeah, I think since the wait list was mainly for us to know if we had enough people to add a third class, and we've already made that decision. I honestly thought the wait list was not on the website anymore. So we're adding the third class. If you want a Friday afternoon or a Tuesday evening, then you'll have to sign up for when the next opening is, which is either May 10th or April 30th.
Okay, so people can just register. You can register right now for the Tuesday or Friday class. And if you want to do the Wednesday 7:30 class, that link will be available tomorrow. So yeah, the May 10th is already, which day is that? Is that Friday?
I think that's Friday.
Yeah, you should be able to register for that right now. You just have to scroll forward, right?
Yes, you would purchase the Friday class, and then once you'll get a confirmation page that will ask you what day you want to be your first class, and that day will be May 10th will be the earliest one you can choose.
Great, thanks, Lauren. Any other questions? We have 1 minute left.
Yeah, that Friday is not showing on the website. So just wanted to, I'm on the website right now and it's not showing.
Yeah, it shows as just a Tuesday evening for Pearl.
Okay, thank you very much for telling. We have not had that problem before. So we will try to figure out why that's happening tonight.
No, yeah, I'll look tomorrow and sign up.
Hopefully it will be there tomorrow. Yeah, we have not. I don't know why that's happening. That's a new one.
And it says you're considering a 1:30 Wednesday class. Is that going to be an option, do you think?
That won't be an option unless all three of these classes are full and we need to add a fourth section. Gotcha. So we just added this third section. We were trying to choose between Wednesday at 1:30 and Wednesday at 7:30, and more people wanted the 7:30, so that's the one we're adding. Yeah. But we'll figure out why the website is doing that, and send everybody. There'll be a follow-up email that will have these links, and
I think I just fixed it.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Thank you.
But
this is why I love Lori. She's the best. If you work with us, you will come to appreciate her too. So hopefully it works now. Okay. Any other questions? All right. Thank you. You all had such wonderful questions. It was really a pleasure for me to answer them, and I hope I get to meet some of you and your dogs soon. And thanks for coming, and have a great night. Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.